All right, guys. So rendering sprite animations and sprites in general. So let's assume you want a more realistic look, not like a drawn or pixel retro kind of look with your 2D graphic. We can, of course, use EV or cycles render in Blender to generate renders of our images, just like how you would render a movie scene. There are a couple of things that you need to consider. First of all, you always want to have your object at the center of your screen here, or at least according to its pivot. Because you don't want the camera to move around and then one sprite is rendered more to the left, or and then the frame, sorry, one frame is rendered more to the left. So we render it all in one go, with the camera being static and sitting here. We can move the camera around if it's necessary, but then you would only do that in certain degree angles and then render the next sequence of a movement from a different perspective. But in this case, we're not going into that. We just render a simple scene. So the camera is set up in a way that it looks towards the one certain direction. It doesn't matter from where, but I aligned it along the x-axis and I made sure that it looks directly at a 90-degree angle towards my object here. When you look at the setup of the camera, it's rotated by 90 degrees in x in the world space and 90 degrees in z. That turned it towards my character in a proper 90-degree angle, as you can see here in the camera preview. The next thing you want to do is you want to, when you have the camera selected, you go to your camera settings here, down here, and switch from perspective, which is the normal 3D rendering view, which gives you perspective distortion, which in some cases might work for your game, but in most cases is actually a problem, because then you get perspective distortion. Things closer to the camera look bigger in the image, and things that are further away look smaller in the image. That is why we use the orthographic view, which does away with the perspective, and we would see the object like in a flat 2D sideway. In some cases, depending on how far the camera is away, that might result in you seeing the object being bigger than the actual camera frame. So you use the orthographic size to actually work on that, and then make sure that your object is somewhere relatively at the center of your screen or more towards the bottom. That actually depends a little bit on how you want to work with the sprite, but it doesn't really matter that much. I think having it at the center usually makes the most sense. The other thing that you need to do in order to be able to render your frames without anything in the background is that you have to set up some render settings. In the render engine under EVE or cycles, you have to go to film and turn on transparent, because then a scene that has nothing in the background, like an HDRI sky or anything, will only render what it's supposed to render, what it sees. The rest will be a transparent part of the image if we use the transparency for alpha browser transparency in Unity. The next thing you need to decide on is how big your sprite is going to be. So usually we are running these games on 1920 by 1080 screens. So if we render this image, I've set it to a 512 by 512 square image. So that would be pretty much almost half of the size of your screen if you see it in full resolution. With the pixel perfect functionality, you can scale your sprites up and down, and Unity will almost 99% lossless, so you wouldn't see any weird effects when pixels merge or there's not enough screen pixels to display everything of your sprite. So I usually render my things a little bit larger than I need them to have that playroom if I that playroom, the room to play, if I want to scale things up and kind of am simulating in a 2D game that my stuff is closer to the camera. That helps quite a bit. It's easier to scale something down than to scale it up. The frame rate, that is not that important. It's usually done with 30 frames per second, but in Unity you can change how fast an animation clip is played, so we can adjust that later. In your output settings of your rendering, you need to make sure that you have a folder where you save your stuff, and then you give each different animation its name. So for instance, I have the parasite charge prepare animation where it goes into attack mode. That is an animation that is about a second long. So I name this parasite charge shoot charge prepare, sorry. Yeah, so you don't give it a number. The numbers will be generated by the rendering process. So just call it parasite charge prepare or something else. My hero running or whatever you need to call it, so that you can recognize what part of which animation each frame is that you generate through the rendering process. And that is pretty much everything you need to do in here. And then you can actually start rendering your stuff. So what I've done, what I work with in my animation setup is I'm using the NLA strips. So if I want to render my charge prepare, I select my charge prepare animation clip, the NLA, and I activate that. And then I check if I did hit the right one. Looks good. And I set the render length down here, starting at frame 0 and ending at frame 30. And then I just simply go to animation, render animation, and it will overwrite my files now. And the render is done. So let's check. Charge prepare, and there we have our image files. If you would now want to, let's say you want to render it from the front as if it's facing the camera, then you would need to obviously rotate the camera around, and that is when the lighting comes into play. So with rendered objects, we always have shadows, unless you render something that emits its own light or it doesn't have any shadowing. But if you want to create something very photorealistic, then obviously you would have to take the lighting and the way into account that the shadows fall in your game. In this case, because the object is emitting its own light, it might not be as bad. But if I rotate the camera here, I will rotate the camera actually around the 3D cursor because that's in the center. So the camera actually stays away. The camera will get the proper, it will keep the proper distance when I rotate around the 3D cursor here. So I rotate you around the 3D cursor in Z, and now I could render it from the front. The problem is, again, you can see that the feet are sticking out, so I definitely should make that whole thing larger. But then I have to make it larger for everything, because otherwise then the other sprites look bigger and higher and wider than the other sprites. And if you have a turning character that turns from here to this position, then you run into a problem, because all of a sudden your object seems to be smaller. So the camera setup has to be the same for each and every animation that you render. Otherwise, you will see a couple of problems with this stuff in terms of differences in sizes of the sprites. The lighting is important. So right now, here you can see that we can see that the light is coming from the top top left here, yeah, because of the specular light and this side being brighter than this side, and so on and so forth. So what you should do is actually rotate the light with the camera so that the lighting always seems to come from one direction. How you light your object and how you set up your materials, that is something you need to plan as well, and it should be the same for all the characters, because quite frankly, you don't want characters that in some case seem to get light from the top left or from the bottom right, because then the different sprites, like the enemies and the character, or the enemies and the characters and furniture in the background, look as if they belong to different scenes that are lit differently and they don't add up. So this is the render setup in Blender, and all you need to do now is to import your files into Unity. I already have a couple of them here. They might look a bit different because I changed the material a little bit, but if you take a look at my monster folder, here you have a couple of, here are the separate sprite animations that I've rendered. They are all beautifully translucent in the background because of that film transparent setup that I did, and I can now turn them into an animation. And there we go. So this is now our animation here. You can see when you unfold this, you can see the separate sprites here. Yeah, and Unity treats this as an animation that has about 2 seconds of time. So that's a bit longer than what I had in mind. So that is not a problem, because in our animator, in the animator controller, we just simply go and say, you know what? The speed for this animation is not one original speed, 100% of the original setup, according to Unity, and it's how it created that animation. But we say this is actually twice the time, and let's see if that looks better as an animation. That looks much better. Yeah, and then of course you can turn off whether that clip is loopable or not. In this case it wouldn't be, but that looks pretty decent. You want to create a shadow for that? Just a quick tip. Duplicate this animation. Make it a parent. Make it a child. Sorry. Yeah. Now we would have this thing twice on the screen, but we also put it one layer number behind our actual character sprite, and then we move it slightly like this, just a little bit, and turn it black and give it translucency. And because they're both using the same animation, because it's literally almost the same, it's literally the same sprite setup. When we play it now, our character seems to have a shadow.